Hello, this is David Levine, and this is Ola and Large, Aaliyah Stories. My year-end wrap-up. It's been several months since I've recorded a podcast, and there's a couple of reasons for that. I'm not going to get into the details of everything, but it's been a pretty busy couple of months with some travel, both professional and some personal. And definitely, I have to say, in the beginning of the autumn in September, it was pretty hard after the 6 hostages were killed at the end of August. I have to say September was definitely a bit of a downtime for me and a lot of people. And thankfully, I got out of it, went to France, went to Italy for some business, which was great to reconnect with people, and have been busy since then trying to chart my new life here in Israel. So I'm going to fill you in a little bit about what's been going on, not get into any great detail, but just give you a general update as to where I am. And where I am physically is Holon. So end of October, I was able to take over a 5-month sublet in a city called Holon. It is south of Tel Aviv. I keep trying to come up with comparisons of what Holon is to Tel Aviv as in other cities. And my best one is it's the Queens to the Manhattan of New York City. So it's definitely not Brooklyn, which is definitely cooler. It's very diverse. There's lots of immigrants. There's lots of people from all different parts of the world here. There's Russians, Israelis, obviously. There's Uzbekis, Sudanese, Ethiopians. I'm probably one of the only Anglo-English speakers that is in the neighborhood. Actually, someone asked me why I was living here. Actually, several people asked me why. I was able to take over a 5-month sublet of a friend of mine where I was able to get a parking spot, and I was also able to bring the dog. So Holon is about, I'd say about 20 minutes driving, maybe 30 minutes on a bus, 35. And of course, all of that can be longer during traffic times from Tel Aviv, so south of Tel Aviv. And it's also about 15 minutes from the beach. So it's inland from the sea. A city called Bat Yam kind of sits between, and Rishon LeZion, another big city, sits between Holon and the beach, and we've been there a number of times, which is great. It's a 3rd-floor apartment. There's a wonderful woman across the hall named Yafa, who she's probably in her mid-70s. She's a head and a half shorter than me and brings over food on a weekly basis. So whether it's chicken soup or different kinds of Moroccan, I think, dishes, she's really lovely, and we've been having a nice little relationship with her giving me food and me giving her random presents to thank her. So it's now December 31st, so it's the end of the year. I hit my 6-month period a couple of months ago, actually. I knew that because I stopped getting my monthly payments from the government. When you make Aliyah, the government sends you some money to help support you. It's a nice little amount, nothing huge. It's not going to change your life, but it's definitely a nice little drop in the bucket to help you through the first number of months. And in addition to moving to Holon, which I'm going to be here at least until the end of March, I also bought a car. I bought a car. It was the first time I bought a car in God knows how long. That was quite a process. Suffice to say, not surprisingly, car salesman pretty much everywhere. So I finally settled on a Nissan Juke which has been pretty fun to drive, although my friend Tula says it makes him nauseous because of all the changing between the battery and the engine. Or maybe it's just my driving. It's probably my driving. This time and Hannukah time. Hannukah and Christmas both fell over the same days and week or so this year, which has been fun. Or in Israel, it's not quite as prevalent as it is in most Western countries, though. There are a few Christmas markets in Jerusalem and Tel Aviv. To be honest, nothing compared to anything in Germany or even New York or London. But it's a game attempt, that's for sure. There's no mugs that you get like in Germany and walk around with mulled wine. Mulled wine is not a thing here. Also not a thing here are the Christmas flavors at Nespresso. I was sure I could pick up Nespresso Christmas flavors here, like the gingerbread and that sort of thing. But no, not available here unless you go to a special Nespresso importer store, apparently. And even Halloween time, there's no pumpkin spice. So that was a bit of annoying because I couldn't get my gingerbread fix. But lesson learned for next year. The Church of Holy Sepulchre obviously is an important destination. My sister Deborah and I took my mom's Mitapelet Lalani to go pray at the church. So we had a lovely little evening going there. And in addition, the Jerusalem Botanical Gardens have this lovely light display. And inside the gardens, they also have like a little Christmas market. You can get some mulled wine. It's the only place I could find mulled wine pretty much in the country. Although I haven't been up to Haifa, which I think probably has more of that Christmas spirit. Definitely has more of that Christmas spirit. I've seen the videos. And Hannukah is lovely here as well. The tradition, of course, is to eat fried foods in recognition of the miracle that happened with the oil that lasted for 8 days. The availability of donuts is pretty much everywhere. There's two kinds of donuts. There's the more traditionals. They're called sufganiyot. That'll be the word for the podcast, sufganiyot. Those are puffy donuts with jelly or some sort of cream inside them with white powder and then a little bit showing at the top. And then they get all sorts of crazy sufganiyot with all sorts of topping and all sorts of ingredients put inside. And the prices this year at the main place called Rolodin went up. So we are boycotting Rolodin and we are trying the donuts at every place other than Rolodin because we think that the price has gotten too high. It's a little ridiculous. So it's like 18 shekels for a single fancy donut. So that translates into about $6, 4.5 pounds. Not cool, Rolodin. Not cool for a donut. My God. Anyway, Hannukah and Christmas, all very fun here in Israel. In addition, it's begun the rainy season, and it really rains here when it rains. People here complain about it. I say, as religious Jews, insert between Sukkot and Passover prayer for rain 3 times a day. You get what you ask for, and considering how important rain and water is to the region, the presence of rain is generally, I think, really a good thing, even though it creates terrible traffic and potholes. And of course, also for the soldiers that are out in the field, it makes everything much more difficult. And of course, for all the people that don't have their homes now, it also obviously makes things that much more difficult. And the weather is not going to be good for them either. Speaking of the overall situation, it's unbelievable where how many days that the hostages are still not with us. It's just mind-boggling. It's also crazy to think of, gosh, all the things that have happened since my last podcast between Hezbollah, between Hamas, Syria, the new president in the U.S. So many things have just changed and evolved over the past few months, and yet the hostages are still not home. And that continues to weigh on everyone. What also continues to weigh on everyone are the constant attacks from the Houthis. The Houthis are a group of rebels that have taken over the western half of Sudan, basically, and they are backed by Iran. The Houthis have been shooting rockets at us, ballistic missiles from Yemen, which shares no border with Israel and is basically a dirt poor country that has nothing to do but try to get attention for itself by attacking Israel and gaining support from Iran to do so. It's crazy. We have been running into bomb shelters, I think about 5 nights out of the past 8 that you download, called So Far. And so far away they are bombing us from. It's called So Far, and when there is an alarm in your area, the app goes off, and you also hear a siren. Generally, the siren, thankfully, is before the actual debris or drone or missile, whatever it is, actually hits. So the alarm goes off, the siren goes off. Depending on where you live, you have anywhere from 30 seconds. If you live really close to the conflict, then you've got about 15 seconds. But up here in central Israel, you've got anywhere between 30 and 90 seconds to get to your bomb shelter. And for me, as I said, the bomb shelter is in the central hallway. And we've been getting these attacks now quite a bit. Last night was an early one. It was only 11:15 at night or so, which was great because I was still watching TV, as opposed to the 2:30, 3:30 in the morning missile attacks that we've had over the past week. One of those attacks was one where I didn't follow the rules. My rules are always to wear pajamas that other people can see me in, have my slippers by the bed, have my keys by the door, have the leash by the door. In this apartment in Holon, as opposed to my mother's apartment, there's no bomb shelter in the apartment. So I have to go into the stairwell, the common stairwell in the building. In my mom's apartment, my sister's house, my niece's house, they have safety rooms in their own apartments or homes, but not here. One of the nights, I had turned the heat on in the bedroom because it gets cool here at night. And over the course of the night, while I was sleeping, I just overheated, and one by one, pieces of my pajamas came off my body until 3:30 in the morning or so, when the alarm went off, and the alarm that is to go into the safe room, and I realized I was naked. So I had to find my clothing. I was just disheveled. I didn't grab my keys. I realized once I got out of the apartment that I had left Dolly in the apartment. I ran back into the apartment. I grabbed Dolly by the collar. I couldn't find the lead. I'm running back into the apartment. My phone dropped out of my pajamas. I grabbed Dolly by the collar, bring her into the hallway, and I hear the door close behind me. and I didn't have my keys, and I didn't have my phone, which had the passcode to the lockbox with the extra key. So it's 3:30 in the morning, and I am without phone, without keys, with my dog, thankfully in pajamas, in the hallway. My neighbors, who I barely had met, I certainly didn't meet all of the ones that came to my rescue, helped me call a locksmith. Turns out that the former mayor of Holon lives in this building, and he came upstairs with a sheet of plastic to try and get the lock open. He was unable to do so. When the locksmith came about 20 minutes later, so not that bad considering the hour, he took out a similar piece of plastic and also attacked the door with the plastic, but he was able to open it, which was definitely a bit of a relief. It was, I think, 400 shekels, but at least we got back into the apartment. And you can bet I have memorized the lock code for the lockbox for the extra key. But I had very nice neighbors, and I bought them all donuts the next morning to thank them for their help. I think we'll leave it there for now. I'm looking forward to tonight. Tonight is New Year's Eve. Actually, it's called Sylvester. There you go. 2 words for the podcast. Sufganiyot, which is donuts, and Sylvester, which is what they call New Year's here. Sylvester comes from European countries that called December 31st after Saint Sylvester, who died. He's a 4th century saint, and Israelis call New Year's Eve Sylvester. It's not quite a big deal here in Israel. New Year's Eve and New Year's Day are both full working days. There are parties on other days. I went to a big party this past weekend for Ofer Nisim, who's a huge DJ, and there's some more parties to come up for Hannukah. And tonight, I'm going to check out the party at the Soho House that is here in Jaffa. So we'll see how that compares to the New Year's Eve parties in Soho houses in other countries. Wishing everyone a happy and healthy new year. Please, God, let 2025 be the year when the hostages come home and all of this war can be put behind all of us, and reconciliation and reconstruction can begin. Thanks for listening. Hopefully I'll be able to do more of these podcasts in the year ahead to fill you in on what it's like to make Aliyah in 2025. Thanks.